He cried when he saw it. Jungkook cried when Jin left Korea, a fact that shook the hearts of fans. The tears in the departure hall of Incheon Airport were not ordinary tears. They were an outpouring of emotions that had been held in for too long, and the one crying was none other than Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, who is known to rarely show vulnerability in public. The question is, what really happened when Jin left Korea? And why was that moment powerful enough to make Jungkook lose control of his emotions? Based on reports that were not officially announced but quickly spread among fan communities, the touching event occurred when Jin, who had just completed his military service, had to leave for urgent overseas activities that were not disclosed to the media. Jin's decision to leave, which seemed sudden and confidential, was said to leave a huge emotional void, especially for Jungkook. Not only because of their personal closeness, but also because the moment of departure was shrouded in painful uncertainty. Internal sources stated that the farewell at the airport occurred without media announcements, conducted privately and attended only by close staff and several other BTS members whose identities were not revealed. But what drew the most attention was Jungkook's response, who was reportedly unable to hold back his tears as Jin walked toward the boarding gate. An eyewitness even described Jungkook's crying as hysterical but restrained, indicating that the emotional burden he felt was no small matter. This raises questions in the minds of fans. What exactly did Jin say to Jungkook before his departure? Was it just a regular farewell, or were there emotional burdens and unspoken conflicts behind their brief smile and hug? Several theories began to surface, including speculation that Jin's departure was related to a personal project unknown to the other members, or even a heavy decision that would affect the future of BTS as a whole. It is undeniable that Jin and Jungkook have a relationship that is more than just professional. In various past interviews, Jungkook repeatedly stated that Jin is a figure who provides a sense of security, especially during the group's difficult times. Now, as Jin leaves Korea again after they hadn't been together in full for some time, Jungkook's emotional response cannot be separated from the fear of once again losing the figure who has long been his emotional foundation. ARMY's reactions are divided. Most show deep empathy for Jungkook's psychological condition, while others wonder if something more serious is happening behind the scenes. In various discussion forums, many noted that since Jin's return from military service, Jungkook seemed quieter in several live broadcasts. Some even linked the tears to the possibility that BTS's internal relationships were undergoing major changes, both personally and professionally. For observers of the South Korean entertainment industry, Jungkook's crying could be an indication of the immense pressure currently being experienced by BTS members. After years under the global spotlight, and with a pause in group activities due to military service and individual projects, it is understandable that such emotions would eventually explode at a certain point. However, when it happened at Jin's departure, a moment that should have been ordinary, it indicated that the emotional context was far deeper than it appeared on the surface. Did Jungkook cry because he feared losing direction? Is there something that has not been revealed to the public about the real reason Jin had to leave? Or is this a manifestation of the emotional fatigue he has been harboring all this time? All these questions remain officially unanswered. However, the event alone was enough to raise concern and empathy from millions of fans around the world. While Big Hit Music has not issued any statement regarding this incident, public pressure for an explanation is beginning to rise. Many believe that transparency is needed now, not only to reassure fans but also to maintain public trust in the internal stability of BTS as a group that has become a global icon. In such a situation, it is important not to speculate excessively. But it is also undeniable that Jungkook's emotional expression, who is usually known to be calm and reserved, signals that something extraordinary may be happening behind the scenes. When those tears fell in front of Jin as he walked away, it was as if there was an unspoken message that this farewell was not just about distance, but also about a profound sense of loss. The question now is no longer simply, why did Jungkook cry? But more deeply, what is happening to BTS? And are we witnessing an emotional turning point in their relationship? This article does not aim to incite panic or spread baseless rumors, but rather invites the public to be more sensitive to the mental health and emotional dynamics of idols who are often only seen from their glamorous side. Now, the world waits for an explanation. But in the meantime, the moment of Jungkook crying at the airport will remain etched in many people's memories as a symbol that behind the grand stage and spotlight, there lies a very fragile human story, and sometimes, tears are the only language that can explain everything. If it is true that Jungkook cried when Jin left Korea, then this moment is not just an ordinary farewell, but an emotional eruption filled with many unanswered questions. But can we immediately believe that all this happened exactly as reported? Or has this incident undergone a narrative construction process by social media filled with bias, personal interpretation, and possibly emotional manipulation? This is where the public's role becomes important, not only as consumers of information, but also as active critics of the truth in every piece of news presented. The emergence of various videos on TikTok, image snippets spread on Twitter, and dramatic narratives on YouTube sparked a wave of emotion among ARMY. Many fans immediately believed that Jungkook's tears were a pure response to Jin's departure. But let's pause and ask, is all this information truly based on verifiable events? Are the visual evidence and narratives shared truly authentic, or just fragmented moments repackaged to produce maximum emotional effect? It must be realized that the Korean entertainment industry, including BTS as a global entity, is not free from public image dynamics and communication strategies that sometimes blur the lines between fact and drama. When an emotional moment like crying at the airport is made public without official confirmation from the agency, should we as viewers simply take it at face value? Is this a genuine expression or part of a strategy to build a certain narrative to maintain media attention? Furthermore, how should we as fans and the public respond to news from unofficial sources such as fan accounts, netizen comments, or video clips from limited perspectives? This event, if true, is indeed touching. But without verification from official parties, whether Big Hit Music or BTS members themselves, we are only dealing with fragmented information that is not yet complete. So, who should be responsible for the spread of such narratives? Don't we as information consumers have a role in controlling the domino effect of news that may not be accurate? It's undeniable that many parties may benefit from this emotional news. Social media platforms get a spike in engagement. YouTube channels receive thousands of views. Even articles covering the topic go viral. But again, where does the truth stand in all this? Is it possible that this story, whether true or not, has become a tool for certain parties to gain exposure, sympathy, and other benefits? So, how can we distinguish between facts and fabrications? One way is by retracing the source. Is there official documentation? Did credible media report on this with verifiable evidence? Was this event reported by press sources with strict verification standards, or only by accounts known for crafting speculative narratives? If it all comes only from individual opinions without concrete factual support, why are we so quick to believe it? At this point, we must begin asking ourselves, have our emotions as fans been exploited? Is it possible that Jungkook's tears, if they really happened, have been used as a tool to shape a certain perception about the relationship between BTS members or the group's internal condition? Is this an old industry tactic to regenerate sympathy and attention when the group's activity is not at its peak? We must also consider the dangers of spreading unverified information. Not only can it mislead the public, but it can also create psychological pressure for the idols who become the subject of the news. Are we ready to bear the consequences if the narrative we help spread turns out to be wrong or exaggerated? Of course, this does not mean we should ignore all the information circulating. On the contrary, we are invited to remain vigilant and think critically, responding to every piece of information with deep questions like, who spread this? What is their motive? Is there evidence? Has the relevant party provided clarification? That is a form of concern and intelligence in facing an uncontrollable flow of information. We realize that this article itself is not free from limitations. The information we present comes from various open sources, including social media like TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as several other online media. However, We do not claim that all this information is the final truth. Precisely for that reason, we invite readers to be skeptical, reflective, and not hasty in drawing conclusions. Moments like this should become a space for healthy discussion, not just a field of speculation. So we return it to you, the readers. Are you really convinced that Jungkook's T